Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Warm welcome to everybody. It is a great honor for us here in Chinmay Mission Seattle to welcome Acharya Vivekji and Acharya Shankarji and his team, Sheetalji and Subiji. Vivekji is the resident Acharya for Chinmay Mission Niagara and the visiting Acharya for Chinmay Mission Cleveland. After his Vedanta course at Sandipani Sadhanalaya under Swami Tejamayananda, Vivekji has tirelessly engaged with individuals and communities and inspired them to be independently joyous. Shankarji is the resident Acharya for Chinmay Mission Pittsburgh, and Shankarji completed his Vedanta training in Trinidad under Pujya Swami Prakashananda. Speaking from personal experience, whether it is in this life, whatever role I have taken on, whether it is being a parent, a Bal-Vihar teacher, or just a householder managing different relationships, there's always been a course or a forum from Vivekji that has guided me. And like for example, parent culture, which is actually facilitated by Shankarji. And the most important role of all, for all of us, I think, is being a seeker, right? And in that journey, Meaningful Mornings has been the most helpful. Understanding and reflecting on the Gita, focusing on the perspective of practice for self-development. Before jumping into today's topic, I have some statistics, so brace your seatbelts. So CDC data shows 1 in 5 children and adolescents experience mental health disorder each year. 2 in 5 children and adolescents will meet criteria for a mental health disorder by age 18, and half of the mental health disorders have an onset before the age of 14. Adding social media into this mix complicates it even more. Now that we have ripped off this band-aid, let's invoke courage and hope within us, and Vivekji is here to guide us in this pursuit. Parenting with a Vision of Courage, based on Vibhishana Gita. And we have books, Sirisha ji has Vibhishana Gita books, if anybody wants to purchase. And may I please request everybody to silence your cell phones.
Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 10th section, in the 70th chapter, a day in the life of Sri Krishna is stated in details. Sri Krishna's day started with dhyana. Tell me what dhyana means in English? Contemplation. The next practice he would engage in is Dhamma, D-A-M-A. Does someone want to tell me what that is in English?
Control of senses.
Control of senses, but more generally, he would engage not in contemplation, but rituals. When one engages in a puja, as an example, your body has to be calm. It has to be controlled. After that, his third practice, and please remember this was done daily, was dana. What does that mean in English? Charity. Every day he would be charitable with resources, with agriculture. Dhyana, Dhamma, Dana, and then he would engage in Dharma. Then he would engage in his responsibilities like being a husband, being a father, and so on. Sri Krishna tried to instill this in his family, particularly the younger generations. He had lots of relationships, lots of kids, lots of grandkids. But again, if one studies Srimad Bhagavatam and fast forwards from the 10th section to the 11th section, Shri Krishna's kids, grandkids, despite having their grandfather or father to be so divine, they were arrogant. So arrogant that they caused their own destruction. And I'm sharing this with you because when you work so hard towards caregiving and it doesn't manifest the way that you've worked hard towards, we can often feel dejected. How many of you can relate to this? You feel dejected. It's almost like you hit the ground. You just feel like, I have faltered, I have failed. However, Shri Krishna never felt that. He was smiling while he was raising his kids. He was smiling while he was correcting his grandkids. One can feel dejected, or one can feel being a caregiver is difficult. There is a significant difference between feeling dejected and feeling it's difficult. Feeling dejected, I'm on the ground. Feeling it's difficult, but it's worthwhile. Exercising is difficult, but it's worthwhile. Waking up in the morning is difficult, but it's worthwhile. Eating 2 idlis instead of 4 idlis is difficult, but it's worthwhile. This is the vision of our spiritual parenting retreat. To have the vision to let go of being dejected and to hold on to, this is difficult, but lots in life is difficult. You've gone through so many difficulties and here you are, healthy, happy. And as we experience this spiritual parenting retreat, you will know that you're allowing yourself to be in this retreat if you start to have this vision of letting go of dejection, holding on to, this is difficult, and this is worthwhile. And before I share more details on the structure of our retreat, I'm sharing in advance, all of you already have this vision. If you didn't have this vision, you wouldn't be here. In Canada, it's a national holiday. In America, it's a semi-national holiday weekend, is what I meant. So you being here shows that you have this vision. And I'll even go to the extent of expressing my gratitude to all of you, because you investing in becoming a spiritual parent is really you investing in humanity. Yes? Until a child goes to high school, and I think most of you have children who are younger than high school, until a child goes to high school, their greatest role model, whether they are great or not, is their parent. Parents. So you being here is you investing in the next generation. You're creating a succession plan, a healthy succession plan. And who's the beneficiary of that? Everyone. If my kids are better for society, you benefit. If your kids are better for society, I benefit. I and another teacher, whose name is Vilasniji, we started our spiritual parenting retreats within Chinmay Mission in 2016. We had started these retreats in Chicago, and each of these retreats has a specific theme, which is the vision of, and that keeps changing. So in 2016, the retreat theme was the vision of happiness. And the map we took up was the Hanuman Chalisa. Hanuman Chalisa teaches so much about the vision of caregiving. I think the Chicago Seekers really liked this retreat, so the next year it was hosted by Chicago again. Or other centers didn't like the retreat, so they didn't want it. In 2017, the theme was the vision of dedication. And the map we took up was Bhakti Sudha, which is the essence of devotion. In 2018, the retreat was hosted by Chantilly, which is a suburb of Virginia. And the theme was the vision of balance. So happiness, dedication, balance. And the map we explored was Bhagavad Gita's chapter 14. Chapter 14, which is about the gunas, how to be balanced. In 2019, the retreat was hosted by Sacramento. And the theme was the vision of friendship. As a parent, and I find this happens more with parents who were born in India, like my parents, rarely do they learn about how to be a friend. It's almost like being mutually exclusive. You're a parent or you're a friend, but it's not both. So we took up the vision of friendship, and I share this because even in the Bhagavad Gita, there's many references where Sri Krishna calls Prince Arjuna by Tata. You are my child, even though they're cousins. But they have that childlike relationship, they have that friend-like relationship. And we used Ramayana section 4, canto 4, as our map. For 2 years, we couldn't host our retreat in 2020, 2021, because of travel restrictions, but we came back in 2022, and this was hosted by Orange, Connecticut. And the theme was the vision of acceptance. I find that acceptance is a strong value that is needed as a caregiver. And we explored Bhagavad Gita's chapters 12 through 15. And then last year, and I saw many of you last year, our retreat was hosted by Portland. The theme was the vision of growth. In many corporations, there's a growth mindset. How the company can grow, how my bank account can grow. But this was about how does one grow as a parent. And we used the map that is Jivan Sutrani. In English, that means tips for happy living. Please note that, because as I explain how this workshop is going to flow, today you're going to come up with tips also. That's all I'll leave you with right now, but keep that theme in mind. So tips for happy living. If I can distill what last year's retreat was about, it was about yoga. Tell me what yoga means in English. Beer, goat, hot, right? All of these types of yoga. Really, what does yoga mean?
To join?
To join, yes. Union. So you're thinking from a scholarly perspective. To be a parent, you can't be a scholar, right? I know all of these books on parenting, but does it actually manifest in my life? My teacher's name is Swami Tejo Mayananda. Those who have this book, you'll see his name. And he's always shared. Before a couple has a child, they have many theories on raising a child. But then they become parents, and they have many children, but no theories on how to raise that child, because each is so different. For those who have a few kids, each one is so different. I have an older sister and a younger sister. If you heard all three of us speak, you would think, like, we're not family, we're enemies. Like, we're so different from each other, even though we have the same parents. So, as I ask you questions, don't approach it from a scholarly way. ChatGPT will be more scholarly than anyone. Anyone in history, and I really mean that, more than Rishi Vyasa, more than Acharya Shankara, ChatGPT will blend all of that together. Right? I'm not even joking about it, it's true. But naturally, ChatGPT won't have the experience of Rishi Vyasa, the experience of Acharya Shankara. It's this experience that has the transformation power. So I'm asking you again, what does yoga mean?
Integration.
That's better. Yoga means perpetual betterment. Perpetual betterment. How you are today as a person Tomorrow, if you're better, you are practicing yoga. Just because you can touch your toes, that doesn't mean that you're practicing yoga. It's perpetual betterment. And that's a term in athletics too. PB means personal best. It's a personal best. It's not a race. It's not a competition. It's your personal best. So that's what we explored last year. This year, in 2024, we are taking up the vision of courage. The vision of courage. At one point, I was looking after the Chinmay Mission Center in London, Ontario. And I would drive there every Sunday, and I would teach. And when I would teach, maybe 75 adults came. But one particular Sunday, when I arrived at this school, there was like 150 adults there. And I had asked the organizers, why are there so many people here? And they had organized a special discourse workshop on how to raise teenagers. So, and I'm okay with that. I prefer when they make decisions to just tell me what to do. That's my preference. I have better things to think about, in the sense of I'd rather think about God than think about making these kinds of organizational decisions. And they showed me the poster that they had created. And so it was a cartoon, like a comic strip. And there was a lady, so a mother, and she had all of these books, and she's speaking to the librarian and asked the librarian, do you have any books on how to raise teenagers? I've checked psychology, self-help, motivation, family. And that librarian said, check the horror section. And why I'm bringing that up is to show the relevance of the vision of courage. To be a caregiver requires courage. If you live by yourself in your own room, it doesn't require courage. There's nobody there to tell you you're wrong. There's no one there to criticize you. But the more relationships you have, the more there are people to tell you you're wrong, to tell you you can do better in this way. So caregiving requires courage. We are going to use the map that is Vibhishana Gita. And I will introduce this, but I'm just showing you for now. Though we call this a retreat, this retreat is made up of workshops. There's going to be 4 workshops. Each workshop has a specific format. It has a 4D model. The first D is discourse. I will try to speak for 30-ish minutes from this map. The second D is discussion. So imagine this is unidirectional, but the discussion you'll have amongst yourselves. So it's like you're learning from me, now you're learning from each other. The third D is dynamics, where you will practice what you learned from me and each other. So really you're learning from yourself. So far, so good? And the fourth D will be dialogue. Whatever you need to clarify that learning, you can ask them. What was the first D? Discourse. See, that's where that girl that was sitting with me, she just thought this spiritual parenting retreat is going to be 48 hours of discourse. What's the second D? Discussion. Third D? Dynamics. Fourth D? Dialogue. Good. Does that work for everyone? Even if it doesn't, this is the unidirectional part. All right. Let's start with understanding why we're using Vibhishana Gita. Can anyone tell me what is the bigger map that this smaller map is contained within? Ramayana. Ramayana. Now my next question is, what does Ramayana mean? What does Ramayana mean? It's the story of Rama. It's his journey. Anyone else? Ayana does mean path. Rama does mean a specific historical perspective, but Rama also means joy. So Ramayana is the path to joy. The practice is to be joyous. And that's important to note, otherwise we treat it as a historical map, but we rarely access history. So if you know that it's not just historical, it's philosophical, application manifests better. Ramayana. In the Ramayana, this is a specific section called Gita. What does Gita mean? A song. The maps of Sanatana Dharma are so systematically composed because we remember more in song form. Tell me, how did you learn the ABCs in English? A, B, C, D. It's just a rhythm. How did you learn the Hindi alphabet? Tell me that. E, right? E. So it's rhythmic. Happy birthday, right? We just monotonously happy birthday, but then you put a rhythm to it. So that's why there's many Gitas. Hamsa Gita, Bhagavad Gita, in this case, Gita of Vibhishana. How many of you know who Vibhishana is, by a show of hands? Okay. Typically, what is taught is that Vibhishana is one of the three brothers who are Ravana, Kumbhakarna, and Vibhishana. But I've read different commentaries that state he is not a pure brother, he is a step-brother of Ravana and Kumbhakarna. And that makes sense because, and I'm digressing, Ravana and Kumbhakarna are really incarnations of Jaya and Vijaya. So where does Vibhishana fit into this? He is a step-brother, and that's why he's so different than Ravana and Kumbhakarna. That's why I'm so different from my sisters. I'm like Vibhishana. You know what's good about this? My sisters will never listen to this recording. So Vibhishana is an icon of sattva. He is a quiet world inside and outside. Now if you can visualize, in this Ramayana, there has been so much conflict, so much fighting. And now in the finality, there is Ravana and there's Rama. And they've both stated that today will be the end of this conflict. So in this final fight, Ravana comes with this intense chariot, and he has intense weapons and intense armor. Just imagine bigness. Imagine a tank with a K. And then you have Rama. What's his chariot? He comes barefoot. Not even shoes, barefoot. And then what is his weapons? He just has a quiver with a bow and arrow. And then what's his armor? Nothing. He's just wearing a dhoti. He's not even wearing an upper cloth. So now Vibhishana, who's the brother, let's call him the brother of Ravana, and he is the bhakta, or the devotee of Rama, he's seeing this, and he starts to collapse in fear. Because he knows his brother and what he's capable of. And he loves Rama, and he's thinking, you don't have anything compared to him. So he rushes to Rama and starts to try to explain to Rama, this is not an ordinary person you've already fought. His chariot, his weapons, his armors are intense, and yours are not. And as Vibhishana is sharing this, and he's really emitting tears out of fear, what is Bhagavan Rama doing? He's smiling. When Prince Arjuna started to collapse, his worldly confidence started to break, what did Shri Krishna do? Smile. See how sarcastic our Bhagavans are. But theirs is not a sarcasm to make the other person feel bad. Theirs is a sarcasm to make the other person forget about their fear. And so, Bhagavan Rama says to Vibhishana, Jehi Jaya Hoy So Sandana Ana. I'm reading the translation to you. That chariot by which one gains real victory is totally different. Vibhishana is stuck on using his eyes. And Bhagwan Rama is trying to teach him, don't use sight, but use vision. Victory in the world and victory in reference to EQ and SQ are totally different. I'll share one more light thought about that, then we'll get into the actual chariot, and then start our discussion. Can you prove to me that you love your spouse? For those who are married, can you prove to me that you love your spouse? You're going to say you remember their birthday, or you buy them gifts and so on, but someone else can do that too, correct? Can you measure how much faith you have in your parents? Can you measure all that is important? And that's why I use terms like EQ. What does EQ stand for? You can measure IQ. Can you measure EQ? What does SQ stand for? That you can measure even less. That which is important, like love and faith and so on, those are immeasurable. Those are not sight-driven, they are vision-driven. So though Vibhishana is sattvic, he's quiet, but Bhagwan Rama is training him to go even deeper. I will share lots more on this context because it's so practical. But for now, we will start to understand what is Bhagwan Rama's, what is this chariot, what is the weapons, what is the armor that can help us have vision, specifically vision of courage. So Bhagwan Rama states, Sauraja dhiraja tehi ratha chaka. Going backwards, what does ratha mean? Chariot. Chaka, the wheels of the chariot. In this metaphysical chariot, there are two wheels. Those two wheels are Sauraja and Dhiraja. Sauraja and Dhiraja. Please try to note this because I'm going to systematically, metaphysically describe this chariot. So everyone sees the chariot inside of them? There's two wheels to this chariot. The first wheel is Sauraja. Tell me what this means in English. Bravery, close. Valor, close. This is like thesaurus.com, right? How about we use courage? Yes, vision of courage, Sauraja. Do you think that accidentally happened? What does Dhiraja mean? Patience, faith, determination. We're going to move with determination. For one to develop vision, what is required? Courage and determination. Why do we need courage? Because parenting and caregiving is difficult. Without this vision, you feel dejected. With this vision, you just feel it's difficult. And it is. There's so many side thoughts that I want to share with you. As caregivers, as parents, tell me, what is one of the most difficult parts? What is one of the most difficult emotions you deal with as a caregiver, as a parent? Anger. Impatience. Fear. My observation with interacting with lots of parents, including being one, is regret. I find a lot of parents have a tough time with regret. How many of you can relate to this? With regret. And that's my point, is if you don't deal with regret, you feel dejected. But if you deal with regret, it is difficult, but you can keep moving forward. The way to understand courage and determination, because in English they sound so similar. Courage is like playing defense, and determination is like playing offense. Okay? Use that framework. Now I'm going to open this up a little bit more. our understanding of courage tends to be quite rajasic or extrovert. Someone who heli skis, that person is courageous. Someone who bungee jumps, that person is courageous. Someone who rides motorcycles is courageous. That's not courage, that's being daring. Daring. When I was in high school, I was part of our ski club. So every Wednesday night, we would get on a bus and we would go to Buffalo and we would go skiing. Now, my parents, they didn't know what snow was when they were living in India, so them taking us skiing was not optional in their brains. They didn't know that existed. So when I started to ski, I had no idea how to ski. How do you know if someone doesn't know how to ski? They just go straight down. And I used to have this blue jacket, this blue winter jacket, and that's how I would just go straight down, straight down, straight down. So my friends started calling me the blue blur, because they didn't know who I was. They could just see that blue streak going down the hill. But that doesn't make me courageous. That just makes me daring. Got it? I'm not saying don't learn how to ski like that. It's just daring. That's not what Sauraja is. Courage is when you follow your responsibilities without compromise. Following your responsibilities day after day after day without compromise, that's what courage is. Makes sense? It's so different than being daring. Like a great indication of someone who's courageous is how they feel on Monday morning. Really, when you feel this is your responsibility and you follow through with that, that's a deep courage then. Now the same goes with caregiving is difficult, but to be steady in doing so, to follow through with this, irrespective if you're criticized, if they don't follow, if they judge you, they compare you, etc. But you continue, that's courage. Now for each of these, this year we're going to go through 12 different facets to this. I don't even want to call it a chariot, but 12 different values in this system. I'm going to try to make this super practical. For those who are just new to me and what's being shared, I'm going to try to make this super practical. I'm going to give you 12 behaviors that need to be renounced. Here's behavior number 1. Renounce complaining. Courage is following through. What drains our energy from following through? Complaining. Renounce complaining. How many of you would describe yourself as a complainer, by a show of hands? What's interesting is as soon as I asked it, with so much pride. Like if I ask you, how many of you are disciplined? Complaining, yeah. How many of you would describe someone in your family as look at me, don't look at them, look at me. How many of you would describe someone in your family as a complainer? You know what I've learned about complaining is that it doesn't work. You can complain all you want, but that person's just complaining about something else, so they don't actually register what you're complaining about. Lots of times when I meet people, I'll say Hari Om, and they'll look at me straight in the eye and say, I'm good, how are you? I didn't say how are you, I said Hari Om, but their mind is somewhere else. Complaining doesn't work, so why do it then? Right? Like our children, when they complain that they have to brush their teeth, I just don't acknowledge that. You have to brush your teeth, period. Okay, now lightly, if that's what Sauraja is, Dhiraja is playing offense. It is where one is determined to grow, determined to practice yoga. That's what Dhiraja is. I am determined to make tomorrow different, to make tomorrow better. I'm reminded of, who did Prince Siddhartha eventually become? Gautama Buddha. He became Buddha. He was such an icon of determination. He sat under that tree and said, I will not move until I'm no longer Prince Siddhartha. That was not him playing defense. That was him playing, this is my aspiration. This is my future. And he became Gautama Buddha, whom we all know. And so, if renouncing complaining is a way to nurture courage, what do we have to renounce to nurture determination? What do we have to renounce? Laziness, fear, complacency. We have to renounce complacency. Sometimes when someone criticizes us, even if it's accurate, we may not say it, but inside our heart we feel, this is just how I am. Correct? This is just how I am. That's complacency. For someone who's practicing determination, they renounce complacency. They're engaged in, I'm going to be better tomorrow, be better tomorrow, be better tomorrow. I had a cousin, and he also won't listen to this recording, so it's all good. He was a certain personality type, and then he started describing himself, and I won't use his name, but he started to describe himself as cousin 2.0. That's what he would say, now I'm so Vivek 2.0. And he wasn't. But it's a good intention, correct? To get to that, from the beta version to the alpha version, from the 1 version to the 2 version. Determination. And it's so cool because these are the wheels of the chariot, correct? One is preventing you from slowing down, one is speeding you up. It's a very practical understanding of just the physicality of a chariot. Okay, lots and lots and lots more to share. Oh.